What's the most f***ed up way you got back at someone that wronged you? Story 1. My last girlfriend cheated on me, and she and her roommate at the time had gotten to that point in their lease where they weren't super fond of each other and kept some distance. Her roommate was smoking hot, kind of sometimes, and wasn't fond of my ex, so I decided to make a move on her. Best move ever. The look on my ex's face when her roommate walked me to the door in her underwear after the first night was priceless. We proceeded to have loud sex almost nightly for the next 8 weeks until their lease was up, and for a while after that. My ex even walked in on us in the living room once. Kinda dickish, but goddamn was it fun, and there's no way I felt bad about it. Story 2. One time a friend pranked me by pissing on my sausage. 4 years later, I got him back by putting my dick in his beer at a bar when he went to the bathroom. He drank the whole thing before I let him know, and I don't forget things like that. Edit 1. So this is how it happened. Not very exciting or anything. We were at a sports bar drinking and playing pool. My buddy who had pissed on my sausage, by the way, did it before they put it on the grill, so sort of a piss marinade, set his beer down to use the restroom. One of my other buddies pointed out that he had left his beer unattended and that I should with it, because all of my close friends are aware that he had pissed on my sausage as well, and I had not really gotten the chance to get him back. Well, I do the first thing that pops into my head. So I grabbed his beer, hit a corner, unzipped my pants, unleashed the and put it in his beer. I proceeded to stir the beer a couple of times with the resheath that bad boy, and place his beer back where it was. When he came back, nobody said anything, and he enjoyed his newly stirred, not shaken beer. When he finished, I just asked, "Remember when you urinated on my sausage? How did my cock taste?" He knew. Story 3. I used to live in a very small town, like 250, 300 people, where we had no stores, gas stations, etc. One day, a local guy decided to open up a little store that sold the basics, like groceries and rented movies. He hired a few of us high school kids to work the store and promised us $50 a week for the summer to be paid at the end of the summer. We agreed and started working. We gave up summer, stocking shelves, cleaning the bathroom, lawn care, and whatever else. Well, the end of the summer comes around. It's our last day of work, and he comes by with our paychecks. $50 for each of us for the whole summer. Needless to say, we weren't too happy, but his words were, "What are you going to do about it? Drop the key off at my house since you won't need it anymore." We came up with a plan to pay this bag back. Before locking up the store for the last time, we left a window unlocked. We dropped the key off at the house. Around midnight, we were back at the store, grabbed as much as we could. Cigarettes, money from the register, and candy. Probably about $1,000 worth of shit. Locked the window, then left through the emergency exit that had no alarm. There were also no cameras of any kind. The next day, there were cops there. He accused all of us of doing it, but had no proof, so he ended up having to shut down the store a few months later because the town heard how he didn't pay us and stopped doing business there. I don't feel bad, as he deserved it. If that guy is going to rip off high school students to save money, he deserved it. The icing on the cake is how he admits to ripping you guys off, and then the town takes your side and ruins him. I guess he really got hit by karma. Hope he learned his lesson and that he'll never try to rip off teenagers again. Story 4. My so-called best friend in primary school stole my shiny Pokemon cards. I was only 6 or so at the time, but that didn't stop me from being a sadistic little first grader. And having older brothers, well, let's just say I knew how things worked. Guess who found out the truth about Santa, the Tooth Fairy, and the Power Rangers all at once? Don't f*** with 6-year-old me. Well, I guess that's the prime example of law of the playground at work, though I hope it wasn't a Charizard or Snorlax. Story 5. A friend and I were fishing at a local creek, and my friend's brother pulled up. Being the he normally was, he started throwing rocks in the creek to scare the fish, and then he threw my friend's bike in the creek. We were 13 at the time. My friend was crying and I felt so bad. I jumped into the creek and got his bike out, told him we would get his brother back. About a month later, we were fishing again, and it was a hot summer. I told my friend today is the day we get his brother back. Caught a 2-3-pound carp, threw it up on the side of the bank, and left it there until we were done fishing. At the end of the night, went back to his place. His brother's car was sitting on the street. We took the carp, sliced it open, and threw it under the driver's seat and rolled his windows 3/4 up. The next morning when we woke up and left, I forgot about what we had done. Well, when I rode past JT's car, I noticed the window was kind of black, and then I took a closer look. It was covered in flies. I actually got scared because I didn't expect to a window caked with flies. By the time I got home, I was laughing in tears because his brother was always such a to us. Fast forward to baseball practice about 3 days later, My friend had a black eye but smiled at me when we made eye contact. His brother flipped out and ran into his house and punched him in the face. His mom flipped out on his brother. Brother was grounded for the rest of the summer. His mom said that my friend would never do such a thing, and he played along and acted as if he had no idea. Apparently, the smell never really left the car. We nicknamed his brother Lord of the Flies. Story 6. When my younger brother was about 3, my father had to look after him for the day. The plan was that he, after asking his boss, would take him to work for the day. It was office work, and he was friendly with his boss, so my mom assumed it was no big deal. My father, however, didn't want a toddler distracting him all day, so he left him in the car with the radio on and a carton of apple juice. At the end of the day, he returned back to his car to drive home expecting a sleeping toddler who wouldn't tell his mother a thing. Instead, upon his return, he found his son jumping up and down on the front seats to the radio on full blast, undressed and laughing, slipping around and covered in He had soiled himself, removed his nappy, and his fecal matter was everywhere. It was smeared all over the driver's seat, the windscreen, the steering wheel, the sat-nav, the driver's window, and even handprinted on the ceiling. Our dad didn't even know that toddlers could even produce this vast amount of turd. The only car seat that was completely untouched was his own. My 3-year-old brother was abandoned in a car for 8 hours, later found smearing his own brand revenge paint all over my father's beloved BMW. Story 7. My first high school boyfriend was not very good with grades, so he asked me to make him a fake report so he could show his parents and not get into trouble. He also cheated on me with my best friend and dumped me. He then promised to get back with me if I forged the report for him. I agreed up until the day when we were meant to get our reports for school. I told him I didn't do it. He was bashed by his dad when he got home for the string of D's and F's. I can't help but wonder how many sociopaths and egomaniacs are living out there. Don't get me wrong, I don't mean you, but rather your boyfriend. Did he seriously believe there was nothing wrong with A, cheating on you, and B, then trying to bribe you with himself? Am I missing something, or is that just ridiculously delusional? Story 8. One time when I worked in a small video store as an assistant manager, there was this one customer who was being a real asshole to the point where I got fed up with his shit and threw him out. He had been like that to every single other employee in the store, including our boss. He was just a mouthy, harassing idiot. It would take way too long to go into details. Anyway, I saw him in a little strip mall nearby one time, and he was bragging to some guys about he was cheating on his workers' compensation. Then he pulls out this wad of cash and waves it under their noses like a Japanese fan. I got all this free money from lying about my injured hand. Anyway, if you go into the blue pages of the phone book, you'll find this listing in all cap letters that says Workers' Compensation Fraud Hotline. And take a wild guess what video stores keep in their records. Full name, home address, and phone. Not only did I turn this guy in, but was also able to provide great detail as to exactly how he was faking his injury as he explained it to his 2 friends. Story 9. I moved around a lot as a kid as my dad was in the army and also divorced from my mom. Not staying in one place made long-term friendships impossible, but my situation attracted bullies like flies. Anyways, I moved to a new school and a bully picked on my scent instantly, tripping and shoving, making fun of my clothes. Nothing too terrible, but I was already unhappy, so I felt miserable anyway. One school day, I asked to use the bathroom. I passed by said bully on the way into the bathroom. He actually didn't do anything to me this time. When I entered the restroom, someone was in the only stall, on the floor. I walked out of the bathroom disgusted, ready to tell on them. I was 7 at the time. I was ready to re-enter my classroom when an incredible yet devious idea came to me. I went straight to my bully's classroom and walked inside. Everyone looked at me, which normally would have given me enough hesitation to turn me 180 degrees and back to class. But that day, I didn't so much pause. I walked up to the teacher's desk, pointed at my tormentor, and boldly proclaimed that he had on the bathroom floor. The teacher's reaction was better than I could have ever expected for me. She made him follow her into the restroom while he cried and slobbered out, "I didn't do it, he's lying," over and over again. She then grabbed a wad of paper towel, handed it to him, and we watched as he picked it up and put it into the commode. She thanked me for telling her and told me to go back to my classroom. This happened about 20 years ago. I still look back at this moment as a turning point in my life, like I became me then. Story 10. When my brother and I were kids, we used to play in our front yard all the time. Once, we were playing baseball and our ball rolled down the hill into our neighbor's backyard. Anyway, my brother and I went inside to find another ball to play with. In those 5 minutes, he walked up the hill and pounded on our front door. My mom answered and he flew into a rage at her, screaming about the goddamn kids ruining his lawn. She tried to calm him down, but he put back his fist as if he was going to punch her. When my mom flinched, he started to laugh and spit on our doorstep. My brother and I saw everything and declared covert war. We were smart. We waited until he wouldn't be too suspicious. To this day, we haven't been caught because everything could have just happened naturally. We didn't do anything at once, but rather over the course of many years. Here is a rough list of all the things I remember doing. First, I poured female deer lure into his car's and house's AC intake vents to perfume his air with an unholy stench. Next, I saved up all shards of sharp glass, nails, etc., and would scatter them on the ends of his driveway. Furthermore, I bought high-strength/concentrated weed killer and would apply it liberally to his prized shrubs/flowers. After that, I found his car in public parking lots and threw bologna on it to ruin the paint job. No clue if this one actually worked though, and that's not the end of it. Then I collected roadkill and assorted critters we found. We had cats, and throw them under the tarp that covered his pool. And the last thing I remember, I waited until they went on vacation and put sugar all over their doors and windowsills in the hope that bugs would get into the house and nest. I still don't feel guilty as the guy was a huge prick. He still is, actually. Story 11. I worked at a place during college that served sandwiches and coffee. It was a cool place. A lot of people hung out there and I liked everyone I worked with. But my boss was the biggest in the world. One week on payday, he got all the employees together and told us that we wouldn't be getting paid that week, and we would have to wait until next week. We were fine with that, but when the next payday rolled around, he didn't have the money. This went on for about a month. We were all working under the table, and he told us that if we quit, we would never get any of the money he owed us. We later found out he never planned on paying us. We found out he was blowing his cash on coke and gambling. He stopped showing up to work for like 3 weeks, so it was just the employees running the store. In those 3 weeks, we gave away pretty much everything in the store for free, literally emptied it out. Anyone who came in and ordered something got it free. We even had a party there one night, an open mic and everything. So he finally shows up and he looks like he has been awake for a week straight. He comes in freaking the f*** out, threatens to beat the out of us, and starts throwing things around. I was in the back and saw that he was double parked outside, so I called the campus towing company that was literally a block away. While he is freaking out at us, one of the employees says, "Hey, your truck is getting towed." He runs outside and watches his Escalade get towed away. We all bounced out the back door and never looked back. Whoa, that's quite the story. It's unfortunate that your boss was so irresponsible and caused so much trouble for you and your coworkers. Giving away everything for free and hosting a party sounds like a fun way to make the best out of a bad situation, though. The fact that he was finally confronted with the consequences of his actions when his car got towed must have been satisfying to witness. Good on you and your coworkers for sticking together and finding a way to move on from that toxic environment. Story 12. When I was 13, I woke up in the middle of the night to a man laying next to me in my small bed, staring right at me. I looked at him all confused and told myself, "Oh, silly, you're having a nightmare." So I smiled at him, closed my eyes, and was about to fall back asleep when he started touching my thigh. Two things happened at once. I realized that I was only in my bra and underwear and that I was definitely not having a nightmare. Fear like I've never felt before gripped every inch of my body, and I think I stopped breathing. He started making his way up to my underwear, presumably to take them off. What did I do? I opened my eyes and said, "Hold on a second, I have to." He looked shocked, but didn't stop me as I wrapped my blanket around my body and proceeded to take a few steps toward my bathroom. Then I noticed that my bedroom door was wide open, so I bolted. I ran to my mom's room, banged on the door, and screamed about how there was a man in my bedroom. My mom came out to the hallway and had just started reassuring me that it was a bad dream when the dashed out of my room and toward the front door. My mom froze, but I got the biggest sense of how dare he try to me. That's when I grabbed a lamp and ripped the cord out of the wall socket, and I started chasing him, insanely waving that lamp and screaming all the profanities that my 13-year-old mind has ever heard. I chased that down the streets while my mom called the police. I lost him somewhere in the dark, but when the police came, got statements, and started searching the neighborhood, I got my revenge. They caught him hiding in the bushes, brought him over, and asked me to identify him. I marched right up to that need him in the and walked away saying, "Hell yes, I want to press charges." Story 13. My girlfriend, whom I dated through high school, broke up with me during my first semester of college. We went to different schools and I later learned she was hooking up with one of her guy friends there. Anyways, when we both were on break, she asked me to bring back all the stuff she had given me: presents, sweatshirts, cards, etc. So I drive to her house with all the things we'd exchanged in the past 3 years. Once I got to her house, I saw that she had invited all her friends over, sitting with her along with her parents in the garage. Anyway, I walk up with her and exchanged. Everyone there had that smirk on their face like they were laughing at me. Anyways, as I give her back her things, I say, "If only I could give back your virginity." The look on her parents' faces was absolutely priceless, and I walked out of that lion's den with the biggest smile on my face. Please leave your story down below in the comments. I would absolutely love to make a video about them in the future, and also don't forget to like and subscribe. Until next time, Tony's fam, peace out.